Welcome to DMOT Garage. Well, today we're working back on the 54 barn door single cab. Let's go and have a look. In the previous episode we were playing around with the front, and we're still playing around with the front, and you can see we've done a bit more progress. We have the safaris mocked up, and we also have dropped our section and added our little section. I've still got to fully weld it. You can see it's all tacked and it's doing its thing, and I've got some little spaces here just to make sure we've got gappage which is correct. But yeah, they're all the safaris are nice and level. I've still got to drill the holes here to put the rivets through, but I've marked it and everything else is looking pretty good there. So we also have started mocking up the gutters, which I have the piece over here. This is the instructions for the safaris. But if we just move these, you'll see what I've been doing here. This is our little gutter, which is going to live on top. Looks like a boomerang from Australia, but it's not. That is going to live like that. Try and get it kind of mocked up. Yeah, something like that. There you go. And then we've also got the extra pieces there. We've got to play around with those, just relief cut a couple of the sections, and then they can get welded on. So yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there slowly. A little bit more progress. We're going to play around now getting all that grafted in. We still have to modify the inner skins, which are these ones, and they run on the inside, up inside there. So we've got to get those welded in, and then obviously weld the gutter on top as well. So we'll probably pull down the frame now and just clean up all those welds that we've done, these ones here, and I also need to fully weld across there with the TIG. But I don't want to do that until I'll probably weld the guttering on first, because it'll give the whole thing a bit more rigidity so that we don't get warpage from the TIG welding process. So yeah, we might just get that sorted first, I think. All right, let's get into it.
A few moments later.
So we have the front TIG welded up, and I can show you. I just didn't want to MIG this up because I didn't want to have issues with grinding it back. So you can see really little small welds that aren't going to take a lot to grind back. But you have to be careful with the TIG because it does put a lot of heat into the job. So if you can see here, I've got them staggered into almost like 1.5 inch spots, stitches. So what I'll do is I'll weld one little section here, then I'll come across over to here, weld one little section here, then I'll come and do a piece over here, then I'll come back over to here and do that one and then that one, and just stagger it so that you're not adding a whole ton of heat in one bit, and then you're going to have warpage issues, because TIG welding definitely, it gives you a softer weld to grind, a more malleable weld, but it also puts a ton more heat in the job. So you've got to be very careful you don't warp things. That's why I actually welded this top plate on, because that was going to give me a lot more reinforcement to stop this thing buckling and moving around. Yeah, that's what you do. Just do a couple of strategic welds, let them cool down, and then go back over it and keep going. This is all cold now. I'll be able to grind that back, and you literally won't even know that it's been filled in that spot. So yeah, that bit's done. We're getting closer to being able to have this whole front welded on for the final time, and the gutters welded on for the final time, and then we can move on to the ominous roof. And I think it is going to be ominous because I noticed that this piece here doesn't actually fit in the gutter. This section here is actually completely, it's about that far out. So I've got a feeling I'm going to have to do some cuts on this to get it to even be close. But anyway, first off, we'll get the gutters welded on. We'll finish welding a few more parts on here. We've still got these parts to do. We've got these parts here to weld on to here, up there as well. And also we've got these parts to weld in here, which they're going to be a bit short, but we might be able to make them work. We'll see how we go with that. Anyway, that's the progress so far. So yeah, let's continue. Okay, one of the next things we've got to get done is the pod, or the pod frame. You can see it's not very good. There's a lot of rust and yeah. Anyway, we're going to chuck it in the sandblaster, see what we can save off this, and we're going to have to obviously do a lot of fabrication, a lot of sections there to fix. I do have a couple of donor pieces off the 64 panel van, double door, which these parts here are the same as those bits, so we can probably use those. I've got a few of them down in there, so yeah. Anyway, good to recycle off other buses, right? Let's chuck it in here and see how good it cleans up. Righto, so let's go and take it over here and have a bit of a looky. It's not fantastic, is it, really? So I think what we'll do is delete this piece here, this piece, and I think it's just got a couple of spot welds on here, so we can take that off, replace this piece, because that's pretty badly rusted, and yeah, let's go from there. Let's see if we can get this off quickly. Okay, so let's cut some pieces out. I suppose what we can do here is just cut a strip along here and weld that on the outside, and then I suppose just blank off this little section in here, and the piece we just took off, I think we will use this one here. I think that might be good enough. We'll just have to clean it up a little bit more. All right, I'll bring you back in when I've done a little bit more choppy, and yeah, let's see how we go. Okay, so I've cut a little strip out, and we're just going to weld it onto the front like this and then bend it around. Let's see how that goes. 18 amps on the welder, on the MIG, for those playing at home. It always seems pretty rough and rudimentary at the start, but you get the gist of it. Start welding and turning at the same time. Righto, so we have a little more progress as well. We can see this structure here. We've got sandblasted it, rust treated it. We've got a couple of spots here that we're going to have to weld. And you can see also, there's the pod. I've bolted that in just to make sure we're all lined up on the dash, which is good. And yeah, we're ready to weld in the structural pieces one step closer. So let's get this tacked in position. Okay, so that part is done. One more little part ticked off. We've still got to add our tube down through the floor. Trying to think what next is going to be. Oh, we've got one more structural piece, this one, that has to go from here all the way across to here. So let's get that welded in. Okay, so we have these parts all prepped, and we also have gone and drilled some holes where we're going to be welding or plug welding the window frame in. Obviously the sides do get crimped over as well, so there's going to be multiple. I'm going to use the spot welder, the Macho, DN100S. We're going to use that to spot weld along the bottom. I think what we're going to also do is get the front ready to get put on, because it's here and I just need to put a coat of epoxy primer on the inside of it here, and then, you know, it's done and it's put on and we don't have to worry about it too much. I also put a little DMOP Garage YouTube 2024. So in about, I don't know, 40, 50 years time, when this front comes back off, someone will go, what's this all about? And they'll go on YouTube and they'll find all the archival footage of this thing getting put together, which is kind of cool, right? Right, so let's get some paint mixed up. I do have some PPG 4:1 epoxy, which is this one here, the 408 primer. I've had this one for a while, so I figured we might as well use it. And it's just white, just a white primer. So we'll set that up quickly and put a coat of primer on the inside of it. And then I'm kind of thinking that we'll probably put the two on at the same time, just in case there's some alignment issues. I would rather they both go on at the same time, so then we're not fighting one. You know, like if I go and weld that on first and then try and put the bottom on, and we might have issues. So let's get this thing ready to paint. Righto, so we have this painted and she's dry, that's ready to go. And I've also done a bit more progress off camera. I actually remade this pipe and the air duct. So that's all done. Got the pipe all welded in. I've just got a little bit more to go on the top there, but I wanted to get that finished before I put the front on, because then it'll be hard to get to it and I've still got to grind back the welds. But at least that bit's done. Once we get that front on, we're home and hose on the front. So then we can start on the roof, the torture. Yes. Okay, let's keep going. Righto, so let's start doing some welding. We're going to start along the bottom lip here, just get a couple of tacks in there, and then we can continue up the sides, get this on, and then we can just manipulate the top a little bit more. We've got pretty much everything clamped up and clear-coat, and yeah, so we're good to go. 21 amps on the welder, on the MIG, and we're just going to start coming in here and plugging up these holes now, and then we'll come back over with our little door trim tool to skin over the lip later. Alright, we're going to get our little skinning tool, and actually we'll put a couple of tacks up the sides and do that first. Righto guys, so we're going to now bend over the flap and we're going to go and get the air compressor de-skinning tool, and then we can finish off. Actually, we'll probably have to clean up the welds first before we do that, so let's get that done. Righto, door skinning tool. We've just pinned it over a little bit with the hammer just to get it over, and then this thing has an adjustment on it. You can slide the little wedge to make it a bigger gap or a smaller gap. So we start with a bigger, and then we readjust it, make it smaller, and it'll actually crimp this tighter. So this is just the first go, just to give it a crack. Basically put it in through the bottom here. Alright, we've got to basically tap it over with the hammer first, and then we can use the skin tool. So tappy tappy. Okay, that's done. Now, one thing to watch out for when you are plug welding through the top, make sure that the slag doesn't come out the other side, because then when you go to pin it over, you'll end up with a massive lump. And I actually had to peel that section there back and peel it back, grind the slag that had come through, and then push it back over so that you get a nice, you can see a nice little neat thing all the way across it. But yeah, that tool works really well. Makes the job a lot easier, I tell you. All right, that nose is done. Now we're going to play around with this top section, get this welded in, and continue from there. Okay, let's get on to welding this top part. Start with a couple of strategic ones. Right, now the next thing we're going to do is use the mocho to spot weld the inside of here. So we'll get that set up and get that done. All right, we've got a couple of spot welds just in here, but unfortunately this section here we can't get the jaws in there, so I'll have to just weld those with the MIG. Or actually, I know, I'll use the TIG. I'll use the TIG and spot weld it. That's what I'm going to do. So it's the next day, guys, and you can see I have placed the new roof just temporarily up on the top there. We've also ground back most of the welds and just put a bit of primer on them to stop them rusting. Now what we've got to do, before I have gone and pre-drilled the gutters to weld those in, but of course now we've got to be very careful that we get this dimension between the two correct. So I'm going to have to take the roof back off, take some measurement, go from there. The front section is definitely going to be quite a lot of work to get this to marry up. Now this one I've got to paint strip off the green paint as well. We'll get rid of that and go from there. So Yeah, let's. The back seems to be pretty good. We do need to do a little bit of using the porta power here. You can see what's going on up there. There's a bit of, this needs to get pushed in and that needs to come out. So that's just a little bit of manipulation. We can sort that out. The sides and the back, I think, are going to be fine. It's really just the front that we've got to sort out. Once we get the roof on, then I'm going to actually weld those parts on. I thought I was going to do it now, and then I thought, nah, I'll wait till everything's all on. And also, same thing with those side pieces. We'll get those done as well. I reckon that'll do it for this one, guys. And again, thanks for the new subscribers. We're getting up there. We're almost at 4,000. I know it's. I've been going for 4 years now. It's a slow thing, but that's just the way it is. We will see you in another episode very soon. All right, cheers, guys. Phew.